Hello, it's August 2023, and this video is inspired by some conversations that I've had with people over the years and some of my statements that I've made and comments and so forth in passing over the years as well. And perhaps this allows an opportunity for anyone who's really interested and has the time and the ability to investigate, perhaps even vet some of my statements. Now, this was around mid-2000s to the late 2000s, where I was at the peak of my law, where I revolutionized the debt recovery world using litigation. And I've mentioned this and even talked about this in some other videos years ago, so feel free to look that up. And it was during this time that I guess you can say I was introduced into the world of celebrities and elites. And I suppose this would have been my first real introduction to this world on this scale and in the position that I was in as a descriptive being, a participant. Now, I was invited to the grand opening of this restaurant called 10, and there was a contact that I once knew, and their job was networking people. And they did a really great job. The person was very nice, and I didn't even know that kind of job existed. Like, how would you even go about making a career out of that? But anyway, I digress. So I was invited for the grand opening, and I knew there was going to be celebrity types, like from television, movies, political type of people, like high up political type of people from the country south of the border of Canada here. And I was to meet my contact at the front door at a specific time, because this place was packed, it was busy, and it wasn't overly huge, but it was big enough that you could almost get lost maybe. And this was invite only. So I had came to the front, found my contact, and we just did some small talk and everything else. And I remember them pointing out certain people that they would like to introduce me to and so forth. And really, that's all about networking, who you know, etc. And that's that world when you get even say above high corporate environments. It's about who you know and who you have your picture taken, and this is what I'm gonna get to as my main point here. And so I remember, I went and grabbed a drink and just started wandering around, and then timed when I would be introduced to certain people. And I remember as I was going around, and I was just, being my own social butterfly in between as well. And there was some things really caught me off guard, because, again, this is really the first time in being a participant, as I've said, in this environment, this world. And I remember just hearing sometimes, like, I'd be, talking to, a small group of people, just introduce myself and just talking, small talk. And all of a sudden I hear someone yell out photo, and then, I'm talking to someone here, and everyone just stops and kind of looks ahead. And there must be tons of photos of me with this really stupid look on my face, like what's going on. And I was told later that as soon as you hear someone yell out photo, whoever's beside you, whoever you're talking to, you kind of put your arm, on their back and look ahead and smile. That was the key thing, to smile. And I'm not one to be very smiley, but, whatever. And that was kind of towards, some time had passed, and I started thinking, oh man, I must look very stupid in a lot of these pictures, because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. This really perplexed look on my face. And there were photographers from magazines and paparazzis and all sorts of stuff, and so I kind of had to get used to that really fast, like learn on the fly, So afterwards I would, as soon as I hear photo, whoever was beside me, just put your arms, and smile and, wait 30 seconds or whatever. And that was kind of an interesting thing to experience. And I remember talking with my contact near the beginning, as I'm looking around, and everyone's smiling and holding drinks and everything. I remember looking at the bar. It was kind of like a rectangle bar, kind of in the center. And I remember pointing at one person, saying to my contact, "That person standing there looks familiar. Who is that?" And they would explain. I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I remember looking off to my right at another point and saying, "Those people look familiar." And they said, "Well, those are the people, when you see the President of the United States, say, doing an address, to a large group, and you see people standing behind, those are the people that you would have seen on, say, for example, television or on the news or whatever." And I thought, oh, okay. And I remember actually talking to one individual who was one of these people who, at least at the time, would have been standing behind a president of the United States while they were making their address. And I ended up talking to this person and just thinking, yeah, everyone here is just people. They're just people. And I never had any grand illusions that there were something more than people, but anyway, I digress. And the whole evening was kind of surreal for me to be in that position with celebrities, elitist types, people from political people, very high people in politics. And I'm just going to share my story. When I had left there and I was driving back home, I remember thinking to myself, rhetorically, how did I get here? I could see how everything had built up to that point, but I was just like, wow, I'm no one, but now I'm here with people who are celebrity types, again, from TV and movies and everything. And so my whole point of sharing this, and something that I've briefly mentioned, was having my photos, or my photo taken with different people, very famous, political, etc. And somewhere in the world, there's all these photos, not all of them that were taken, obviously, but the ones that I was in are out there in the world. And I've tried to find them online over the years and never found them. Maybe they didn't make the cut because they're looking at the photo thinking, who's this guy with this deer in the headlight look at his face? So yeah, if anyone's interested to verify my statements, there you go. And I'm going to just further add, I remember this one particular time I had met, the first time I had met a former president at the time still, and their motorcade was delayed, and I was where they would get out, come in, and you just do a meet and greet. This is actually, I kind of find it a funny story for me, because in my head I had this little kind of spiel, like, hello, my name is, and whatever little spiel that I had, and I was kind of going over it in my head because I'm meeting a former president of the United States. Now, I'm not stating or implying anything about presidents, or that's beside the point. And this one, a lot of people talk about, especially truthers and freedom types and everything, but I'm not even going to touch that. So I remember they were kind of late coming in, and I was actually the first person in the line. I don't know how I ended up in the first spot. So when they came through the door, they would walk straight ahead, and I would have been like right there. And I was on my phone. I turned around, talking to someone on the phone, and as I turned around, this president was standing like right there, like 3 feet in front of me, 2-3 feet in front of me, like right, like looking at me. And I remember I was startled, and I just said, I'll call you back, and slid the phone into my suit jacket pocket and reached out my hand, and the only thing that came out of my mouth was hi, literally just hi. And this former president of the United States just kind of looked at me for a split second, like kind of taken back, probably expecting, you know, a spiel. And they kind of chuckled and smiled, and before I had a chance to say anything more, the person that was to my right kind of interrupted. And anyway, and I was thinking to myself, I blew it. This is terrible. You know, I just missed this opportunity. And so I was still standing there, and this former president of the United States was maybe about 2 people away from me now, you know, doing meet and greets, shaking hands. But they kept looking back at me with a smile. Anyway, that was that first time. And I remember telling others, you know, how I blew it. And they said, no, he remembers you, because I didn't have a spiel, which is forgotten. But he would have remembered my face in that moment, which apparently, I guess he did for at least a while anyway. So that was just kind of a funny story. But again, there were a lot of photographers there taking photos, and I don't even know if there was any video. Probably there was some sort of video being made at that time, but I remember that as well. So these are just a few examples of some points in my life that I've mentioned to others, which again can be verified through photos and perhaps even videos of these, at least these 2 events. So anyway, that's all I really want to share in this video, and nothing profound with regards to civilization in the world or corruption or anything like that. Just sharing a little bit more about me. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.